Be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others to be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward from your Father in heaven. So when you give to the needy, do not announce it with trumpets, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets, to be honored by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. And when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father, who is unseen. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you.
What is your Christian devotion like? How does the modern Christian approach prayer today? Jesus says, "Be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others to be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward from your Father in heaven." This call to avoid hypocrisy in our faith is particularly relevant in today's world, full of superficiality and illusion. Let's ponder these words. How often do we boast about our good deeds? How often do we post on social media, hoping to garner a few extra likes for our charitable or pious acts? Is it possible that our devotion is becoming more of a spectacle for others than an authentic expression of faith? Imagine for a moment that Jesus lives today and has an Instagram account. Would he post pictures of his miracles and prayers? Or would he rather avoid publicity, seeking a quiet place to pray? Jesus taught that our piety should be hidden, not public. The Apostle Matthew quotes him saying, "So when you give to the needy, do not announce it with trumpets, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets, to be honored by others. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward in full." This doesn't mean we shouldn't do good deeds. On the contrary, we should help others, pray, and financially support those less fortunate. But we should do it from the heart, not for applause. One might say we should be anonymous saints. Isn't it wonderful to be a saint but no one knows it? St. Paul in his letter to Timothy warns against people who think that godliness is a means to financial gain. This warning against exploiting faith remains relevant. True piety, Paul says, should lead to humility and service to others, not to emphasizing one's superiority or gaining material benefits. True spiritual life is not a theater where we perform for an audience, but a relationship with God nurtured in silence and modesty. Let's turn to prayer, our way of communicating with God. Jesus says, "And when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward in full." Let's reflect on how often our prayer is a genuine dialogue with God, rather than just a spectacle amidst the incense smoke. Maybe instead of pretending piety, we should simply be authentic. Individual prayer also has a deep psychological dimension. Psychologists point out that regular prayer and meditation can significantly impact our emotional health. They help reduce stress, improve mood, and increase a sense of inner peace. In moments of solitude with God, we can find true comfort and understanding of our deepest needs. It's in these moments of silence when we shut out external stimuli, that we can truly hear God's voice and feel His presence. Consider the story of Ananias and Sapphira, described in the 5th chapter of the Acts of the Apostles. Trying to deceive the community and the apostles, they pretended to be more committed than they actually were. Their act was quickly revealed by Peter, and their deceit had tragic consequences. This story shows how seriously God takes the authenticity of our actions and intentions. This story isn't about money, but about honesty. Do we really want to share their fate by deceiving ourselves and others? Will a hypocrite be saved? Jesus clearly condemns hypocrisy, emphasizing that outward forms of piety, devoid of true faith and love, are worthless in God's eyes. Salvation is a gift from God, received through faith and sincere conversion, not through pretending piety to gain others' approval. A hypocrite, living in a disconnect between outward practices and real intentions, distances himself from a true relationship with God. But, as mentioned in the 9th chapter of the Gospel of Matthew, there is hope for everyone. Whoever sincerely repents, admits to their hypocrisy, and turns to God with a humble heart, living in truth, will receive God's blessing. Salvation requires authenticity and purity of heart, and anyone who desires to live according to God's values can receive forgiveness and the grace of salvation. Let's ask ourselves if our piety stems from true love for God and neighbor, or from a need for recognition and praise. Jesus calls us to authenticity and a deep relationship with the Father, who sees everything, even what we cleverly hide. He rewards us according to our true intentions. It would be good to sometimes add to our prayer the words of Psalm 139, which reads, "You have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways." Yes, God knows our hearts and intentions better than we do. In summary, our faith and piety should be anchored in an authentic relationship with God, not in a need for recognition and applause. Jesus reminds us that the true reward comes from the Father, who sees our inner selves. Let our prayers and good deeds be expressions of our love and humility, not a means to gain human approval. Let's be aware of the temptations and challenges of the modern world, but let our faith remain strong and authentic, rooted in love for God and neighbor. May God bless us all.